Here we go into a new computer animation tutorial, and what we're going to go over today is creating a little scene here with a bouncing ball and a little spinning sun in the background that utilizes tweens. And so what we can see going on here is we've got three different graphics or clips that are using tweens. One is the ball, one is the shadow that we can do a fade in and a fade out, and then the sun, which is spinning. And the ball is actually spinning and uh, tweening all at the same time. And so a pretty basic exercise to go over a bouncing ball, but we will utilize some more features of tweens. And as you can see, we've got 5 layers in this project. So again, working with layers is a little bit of something we're going to really kind of build on in this assignment as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click New, create a new project because I already have this saved. First thing we're going to do is layer 1, we'll take our ellipse tool and with a line weight on it of, let's put this as 3 or 4, let's go with 4. You can choose fill color to be any fill color you want. I'm going to go with kind of like a tennis ball green. The outline color being black is fine, I guess, but maybe for a tennis ball it might make more sense if it was white. It will be hard to see on this background though, so maybe one thing I even want to do first is just go to the gearbox and editor settings, and I'll name my project as ball bounce, and maybe I'll choose a background color just to kind of give the sky sort of like a sky background color. You could do light blue, light orange, purple, whatever you want to do. Maybe I'll get fun and just kind of do like a light purple in the background. And I'll hit apply, and then I can X out of this. So it's got the name, it's got the background color, awesome. So I'm going to make the ball first, clicking and dragging and holding the shift key down in order to make a good round circle. And so that looks like a pretty good size. The other things I'm going to want to add is some details with my pencil. So I'm going to take my pencil tool. My line weight is already 4, which is good, and then I'm just going to kind of make like 2 kind of curved lines that go on here as for the lines to mark the tennis balls. Again, you can make this any kind of ball. It doesn't have to be a tennis ball. It could be basketball, baseball, soccer ball. If I wanted to adjust these lines, I could take my my pen cursor tool or your path cursor tool and use that to put it over these lines and bend and adjust these if they don't turn out the right way. So that's kind of a nice feature we can add as well. All right, let's make this move on a tween now. So let's kind of expand these frames. Just go ahead up to 20, I think is a good place just for this to go for now. We will then go ahead and add in a tween here. All right, so when you click this add tween diamond, it's going to group all your lines here together, which is great because we want them all to move together. It's not like we want, you know, to have to move the lines separately or anything like that. I'll go to my middle frame here then, the 10th, and after clicking my scrubber, moves over to the red bar to the 10th frame. I'm going to move or drag this the ball down. I have to first click on my cursor tool, and then I can move and drag the ball down to the lower half of my scene, and then when I kind of move my red scrubber bar here, I can see that it moves the ball from one point to another. And so that looks good. And then what I want to do is actually take this frame. I'm going to need to copy it and paste it here so I have a frame to squash and stretch, right? So if I take this frame here, I think I can hit copy and then go to the next frame and hit paste. And you'll see what that did is it just created another frame there that I could expand. I'm actually going to paste it again right here, so I'm going to just click on the next one too and hit paste. Now this middle one here, I want to do the squashing too, but I can come back and do that after. What I actually want to do is take this first frame here now and then also go to copy, and then I want to go to the end here and hit paste. And so it doesn't quite look like that copied the position correctly. But if I want to, I could just, oh wait, maybe it did. Now that I clicked on it again. So, okay, cool. Yep. So this is what we want to end up with ideally. So first frame it moves down, and then we have kind of a pause. This will be our squash frame, and then it jumps and moves back up. So let's make some adjustments to this middle frame here. We're going to take our cursor tool again, click on the tennis ball or whatever kind of ball you have here on this middle frame, and I'm just going to stretch it out a little bit like that, and squash it down a little bit like this. And then I may have to move the ball actually just a little bit down to make sure that it's still the bottom of it right here. This bottom edge still lines up with these, and so that looks pretty good. It doesn't look like it changed very much. So now when I give this a play and I can hit my test play through, you can see the ball bounces and it has a little squash frame and then jumps back up. So there's our first tween action here, and what we want to do now is probably go ahead and start to add in like a background here, because it's hard to tell that it's actually bouncing off anything without sort of a background to go from. So I'm going to start by zooming out just a little bit further. I'll drag my playhead back to the beginning here, and we'll add a new layer, because remember, anything that moves on a tween has to be on its own layer. So now this layer 2, I'll click on this first spot here to put a frame there, and then I can start to draw in my background. So I'll start with a rectangle tool. I'm going to actually turn the stroke line down to 0, so that the shape I make here will just be a gray box. So this is going to be a gray box. It's going to be kind of like the edge of the roadway, kind of where this ball is bouncing. Remember, it's okay to go outside the edges of the box that your stage area is in. So let's give this a quick play now and see if it, okay, so it only is on the first frame. Forgot to expand that. I want this background frame to stay in my animation all 20 frames. So let's give this one more quick test play. All right, cool. So the key part here is I want the ball to go past this line edge and then kind of hit in the center of it. So this looks good. If this line is not high enough to go through the ball, then you might want to adjust it and pull it up a little bit higher. Let's go ahead and I can add a couple extra lines to my my background scene here. You could use your pen or your brush tool really for this part. I might want to make sure that I have some kind of a line weight here in order to see this. So let's go ahead and choose like a green color to kind of make the hills for the background. Maybe make something a little bit darker. Cool. And then again, still make sure you're on layer 2. That's your background. Remember, whatever's highest is going to be in front, is going to be the topmost layer. And so, oh, actually, I forgot. I have the, I'm going to hit Command Z. I want to set my stroke color to be the same green. So it's actually nice. It kind of saves what color you picked before over here. And so now when I go back in here, I'm going to do kind of like this line that goes up and just kind of make this hill that sort of connects. And again, it's okay if stuff isn't quite perfect on the outer edges. It'll go ahead and that part and the outer edges that's not inside this original square will be outside the background. So that's good. I'm going to take my pencil again. I'm going to make it a little bit lighter color this time because it's further back or further away from us. Let's see, I want to make sure, or maybe I'll make it darker. Yeah, let's make it a little bit darker. I'm going to hit that. Again, going to kind of go up and just kind of make another line. And this is just going to be a very simple couple of hills type lines. Back in my background, take my fill bucket and fill in this shape. Okay, so here's a good thing to learn about is the shape has a gap. Okay, so what I can do is when I have my fill bucket selected, if I go over fill gap amount and I just turn this up and then click in here, you'll see it actually filled it in. It didn't use the right color because I didn't change my fill color here. So I want to make my fill color that darker green. Let's see if this is it. Nope, that's the same green. So I got to choose a darker green again and then fill, and then cool. All right, so that works out pretty good. I just clicked one more time to fill again because I could see kind of like a little line edge between my line and my fill color. And so this looks good now. Let me give it a quick test play again. So I got my ball bouncing and it's hitting the ground and got my background in. So we are a-okay to keep on moving. So next thing we're going to do is now we got to add in 2 more layers or maybe even a third for some clouds and stuff. But let's scroll down a little bit here. We're going to add in another layer. This layer is going to be for our shadow. So I actually want to move this layer 3 up above layer 2 because the shadow wants to appear over the top of the pavement here. So clicking on this frame right here, again, going to use my ellipse tool. I'm going to set my color to black, and the outline color, I'm actually going to just set the outline to 0 again. And so I'm going to want to click and drag to make a shadow that lines up underneath the ball. And so let's make sure really quick, I'm going to then expand this because I want the shadow to be underneath the ball the whole time. I'm going to take my red scrubber and kind of play this because I want to make sure this shadow is the right size here. And I'm moving it just around with my arrow keys on my keyboard, so once you click on a shape, you can move or nudge your graphics really easily with your arrow tool. And so I just kind of made that shadow just a little bit bigger and made sure that it was placed directly underneath the ball there. And so that looks pretty good. The next thing I want to do is add a tween to this shadow. Okay, so we're going to make the shadow fade in and out underneath the ball. And so we want it to start pretty light, and then in here we're going to have another frame where it's going to be darker. So what we'll do is just kind of click on this point here, right underneath your squash frame, and I'll click on the shadow graphic here, and you'll see where you have opacity in here. And so the opacity there I can change, and let's put this at maybe like 0.65 or something like that. You want it to be dark, but maybe not solid black. And you can see it updated my frame there too. And then I'm going to go to the very end, and I'm going to again click on the shadow here, and I'm going to turn my opacity way down. I want this to be like, yeah, quarter or 0.3 or so is pretty good. It doesn't have to be exact. And then I want to do the same on this very first frame here, and then we'll see what this effect looks like. So again, I need to click on my shadow and then go to opacity, and I want this to be 0.3 about. So there we go. So now it should do is I scrub here, it makes that shadow go darker as it gets here, and then as it goes this way, oh, it should get lighter again. So let me see, let me double check here. I'm on this frame, the end. I click on the shadow here. Okay, so it didn't register that I wanted this lighter. So again, this should be 0.3 at the end here. And let's just go ahead and give this a play. So you can see the ball kind of lowers, it approaches the shadow, it gets darker as it hits, and then it gets lighter as it bounces back upwards. And so that is pretty much that for making a shadow. I did add some other little things in here. We can make this our tweens get a little more fancy by adding things like rotation or easing. And so when you click on one of these tween diamonds, you should see a little menu up here for easing type and rotations. So that's another fun thing you can add. I can add an ease in, so that would make this drop kind of like go fast and slow down a little bit. And I can also add in a rotation. So if I want this ball to rotate once, just enter in 1 for the rotation, and now you'll see the ball kind of falls a little more gradually, and it spins and then bounces back up. So that's kind of a nice thing that you can add into your animations. Now, the other thing too, I could add a ease out for the bounce up. So I hit on this diamond before it bounces upwards, and I can do an ease out, which should kind of make it bounce up a little bit quicker. Yeah, see how it bounces up a little quicker and then kind of hangs in the air there? So that's looking really nice and clean, and that's pretty much it for the ball and the shadow bouncing. So I did add another little layer into my project before with a sun that spins in the back and a couple clouds, and so I will show you how to do that really quick. That's going to be on its own layer all the way in the back. So the sun is going to be behind the hills, and if you want to add clouds to your hills layer, this is layer 2, the only one that doesn't have any tweens on it. And so let's click 1 here to add a new frame. I'm going to make this sun a little bit smaller. Again, stroke weight is on 0, so I should be okay with that. And I'm going to make the sun smaller because it's off in the distance. I'm going to just choose like an orange color here. It's not quite as bright as I want it to be. That looks pretty good. And then again, really small kind of circle in the back. is going to be where my sun is, and it's all the way behind. It's the bottom layer, so it's all the way behind my hills. So I can kind of drag it down here, and I could make it like come up and do something like that, but I'm just going to make it kind of spin back here. And so next thing I'm going to do is add some brush lines, and I'm going to make this a slightly different color than the sun, maybe more of yellow. And the size looks a little big, so maybe I'll turn the size down just a tad, and then make some kind of like sun ray lines coming out of here. And the tricky part is once I go behind this, I can't really see them. So one thing we can do is make layers invisible. So with this layer 2, my background layer, I can hit this hide layer button, and then I can actually see what's going on with my sun back there. It won't let me draw anything on it, so that is one thing to keep in mind. But I'm just kind of adding these sun ray lines here. I can hit Command Z if I don't like some of them. Don't have to be perfect, I guess. This is just for demonstration. But yeah, once I have my sun lines, I'm pretty happy with them. I could then hit this show layer button again over here to kind of show that layer again. I'll take this sun layer and expand the frames. I need to just click Add Tween. At the end here, I'll go ahead and I think add in one more tween block so that it has another diamond at the end there. And really all I have to do is click on the first diamond, go to rotation in this top spot. Maybe you want it to rotate twice, and let's just play and see what that looks like. Alright, so my sun is kind of spinning, which makes my sun rays look like they're kind of dancing around, and my ball is bouncing and the shadow gets darker and lighter as it kind of falls and jumps back up. Actually, I feel like something happened with my shadows there. As it kind of falls, it gets darker, and then as it goes back up, it gets lighter. Yeah, okay, cool. Nope, that's working as I wanted it to. All right, so you can feel free to add any other details to this that you want, but that is pretty much it about easing tweens and making them fade in and out and do some rotations. So lots of funs with tweens in this assignment. So hope you guys have good experience putting this together and getting to know tweens a little more.